Hi, this is Lizzie. You may have noticed the title of today's video is What do autistic people need right now? I think that's a question that a lot of people who are allies or family members to autistic people are wondering, because things have been quite alarming in the United States since Donald Trump's inauguration, and the way his health board or whatever you can't think right now, that they have approached autism in a very sensationalist way and now have made wide sweeping statements about causes for autism, and not to mention the fact that some months back they were talking about making an autism registry with every autistic person's medical information, which is not, that's very scary, even to people who may think of it as not intended to be harmful. It's something that can be used for great harm. So I think the most important thing we need to do right now, autistic people who can advocate for ourselves and those who love autistic people in their lives, or just, care about other people, is to share reliable, real autism awareness. That's a term that's been kind of dragged through the mud, but their autism awareness is important, and it needs to be accurate awareness. So not just going off what someone tells you on the television, talking to autistic people, reading studies, reading books by autistic people and people who've studied us. Studies is a weird word, but you know what I mean. And I think it's very important that this is done in a nonpartisan way that is as apolitical as possible, which is hard for me to admit because I'm a very partisan political person. But when something like this is turned into a partisan issue, that shuts out a bunch of people from wanting to talk about it or interact with it in the way that I think is necessary, even though there are a lot of Republican or conservative people who are autistic or have autistic loved ones. There is a necessity to keep or get people on our side, which is sad. I don't think it should have to be that way. I think another one of the most important things we can do right now is to stand with the most marginalized autistic people. So that's autistic people with high support needs or who are non-speaking, Black autistic people, Indigenous autistic people who are refugees, autistic people who have other disabilities, autistic people who are trans and may lose gender-affirming health care, and autistic people who rely on Social Security for their income and health care. I am one of those people, and it's frightening the way things are with the healthcare system in the country right now. So I'm sorry, I can't start this video over again. It's been too far. And I am a very privileged autistic person because I am white, I can speak, I can mask to a degree, and while I have physical disabilities, I am more mobile than a lot of people. So for me, I need to find autistic people who are in other marginalized communities and support them, whether that means giving money to a GoFundMe or sharing something that they wrote about their experience or going to a protest. There's all sorts of things. It's a much wider situation than a lot of people might present it as. Something I think is also important is to avoid, there's a lot of things that are talked about in autism and autistic communities online that are not super relevant right now. That doesn't mean that they don't matter and that they don't have a place, but if we are directing our energy at making sure people are using the right terminology, whether that's person first or identity first for autism, or high functioning or low functioning. Obviously, these are still problems with the language, but the language is not the problem right now. And I think it's important that we are able to help the broader community than just basically whittle down affirming communities until they're a sliver of moral purity. So also like things like self-diagnosis. There's conversations to be had, but that's not what's most relevant right now. And something I think is very significant, the discussion around autism moms or autism parents, who are neurotypical parents or just not autistic. They may have other conditions, who have autistic children, who maybe make it their personality, or so they seem online. Right now, we don't need to alienate people who care, even if they get things wrong. And we need people who have the privilege of being non-autistic to be on our side and speak up for us when we can't do it for ourselves. And there will always be autistic people who can speak for ourselves. But say someone who is non-autistic, who has a non-speaking autistic child, they are going to be more finely attuned to their child's experiences in a way that a low supports need autistic person who doesn't interact with many other disabled people in real life might not understand, even if we have a lot of things in common too. That's basically all I have to say in this video. I'm sorry that it's messy, but I hope it's helpful. And I would like to open up the comments to be a place of discussion from other autistic people or people from families where there's autism to talk about what do you need right now in this political climate? What do you think are the most important things for us to focus on? So that's all I've got. Thank you for watching.